Oh my goodness, oh my gracious, greetings and salutations, one and all. Welcome to a week of Olympus Rises, where I, your host, Jordan, aka Mankey Games on the Internet, take you on an adventure through the stars with the help of my party and the wonderful game system Stars Without Number. Glad you all could be here. Let me just take a moment and say, we have not played for over a month now. It has been a very long time. We skipped 4 weeks total, which means it's been a grand total of 5 weeks since we've played. This means two things. One, all of you delicious, delicious viewers have been without content for that long. And two, all of us have forgotten how the fuck to play. So, bear with us while we do some introductions and make sure we get everybody covered, and then figure out what the hell has been happening and how the hell we're going to address it. But the last thing I need to say is thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Happy to be here as myself, and I can't wait to get started. Let's go ahead and turn on Discord. Devin is currently walking into his house to turn on his computer and then jump on, so he will be here momentarily. But in the meantime, let's see how these 3 duck game aficionados are doing.
And then steal all their valuables. Or
right. Yeah.
kill them before they could ban me.
Yeah, exactly.
What exactly
really
are we talking
funny.
about?
We were talking about how glorious Ultima Online used to be, and how I have a complete mental map in my head still.
Okay. Because as soon as I unmuted, it was just walk in and steal all their valuables. And I was mildly concerned at what you were going to attempt to accomplish within the next 3 to 4 hours.
We both know how the next 3 to 4 hours are going to go. It's going to be a fruitless, desperate search for medicine to stabilize Chan, followed by a lot of deep, depressive conversation about.
I mean, should that all go tits up, then
Guess what we have?
then it's rolling new characters, right?
Yay! And very sad songs on the ocarina.
Yes.
No, we're not re-rolling if Chan dies.
I don't think we really have a choice, because I think the ship is going to get flown into an asteroid.
You can think that all you want, Matt. You keep thinking that, sir.
Yeah, when Gogo's like, yeah, I'm totally plotting the jump to a regular place, and then you're immediately in dark space. You let me know how that goes.
Oscar is going to turn up somewhere. I don't know about the rest of you. But he has an environmentally sealed suit.
For how many hours?
Long enough to drift to a planet, probably, or another station.
Okay.
I made sure that I have a really high number of batteries in my inventory.
Okay.
Explicitly for this purpose.
Sure.
Noted.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
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 We are starting about an hour late today. I am more than willing to run a little bit longer, but I understand that is not the time frame that some people work in. But it is our first week back in 5, so perhaps that will be more appealing to some of you, or less appealing depending on how this particular session turns out. But briefly, I do feel it is very important. It is the first time I have heard Devin's voice personally in 5 weeks, so I have to ask Devin, how have you been? What's going on?
Way too fucking busy.
Well, I mean, obviously. I think two out of the 4 weeks we skipped were your fault, and then 2 were mine.
Yeah. Last weekend, I don't remember what happened, but the weekend before that was in Orlando. This weekend I was in Orlando. It's just been nonstop, and I need a break. So I'm glad to be here. But it's been good for the most part. So I might have a more permanent position in Orlando as of next week. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Also,
well, Kiss and me to be exact, but yeah.
Same thing. I mean,
What did he say to me?
people think, people think Disney's in Orlando, so I mean, it's close enough.
It is though, isn't it?
No, not technically. Technically, Disney's actually in what's the name?
Celebration.
Technically it's in Celebration.
Yeah.
Which is
It's part of Kissimmee, which is part of Orlando.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
But technically, Celebration is a city, and the only thing that resides inside of that city, or owns any land inside of that city, is Disney.
Is Disney.
So, there you go. That's why they have their own personal medical, police, fire response. So,
Power station, everything.
Yep, exactly.
So,
yes.
when the doctor cops are responding to fires,
yeah, pretty much.
like how long is that one like group, or
they just show up and they go, oh, and then you're better because it's Disney.
Oh.
That's how it works.
Yeah, that's how the magic works.
God, remind me never to go there ever, please. Thank you.
No, you can go there, just don't get hurt there. That's
or actually, more precisely, you want to get hurt there because you get all the money.
True, or that.
that's true. I wonder how much their legal
Well,
The army of lawyers.
I can tell you from our standpoint that we would rather just pay people as opposed to go to court with them.
Yeah.
And that's almost 99% of the time what we do. And we are nowhere near as big as Disney. So I'm sure that they probably have a similar policy.
Yeah, it probably looks better from like a PR standpoint too, to just like throw money at people rather than litigate.
Giving somebody a $10,000 settlement will shut them up really fucking quickly.
Usually.
Yeah.
Right, usually. And then you get some of those people, and then it's funny because all the people who decide to push it, they decide to like really push it. We're just like, okay, you know what? No more. And then that's when the lawyer hammer just falls upon them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have kind of. There was a statistic I read somewhere that they have kind of billions or something saved up just for law cases.
Oh yeah, it's part of the budget for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely. But anyway, fantastic. So besides being busy and trying to struggle with a more permanent position, anything else?
You know, Josh, they just bought a house Friday.
Right. Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations to them.
Good news right after that bad news. So.
Yeah, for sure.
But so we were doing that this weekend, and they had an above-ground pool in the backyard that he wanted to destroy, so we destroyed that along with the deck that went with it, and it was way too much work, and I shouldn't have done it all on a Saturday.
Yeah, that sounds awful. I'm glad you didn't call me, because
yeah,
I would have been like, you know what, like,
my internet's fucked up.
I gotta do this thing, like, sorry. That, or I would have just ghosted the fuck out of you. One of those
you're good
things.
at that part.
I am good at that part. Will, I have heard from you recently, but tell me, sir, how have you been?
I mean...
And how excited are you for to be blamed when Chan dies?
No, that was probably my fault.
No. There's plenty of blame to go around, guys. There's plenty of blame.
Can I just say thank you, Jordan, because I was still in this super excited state about me actually having my ocarina, and it's totally awesome, and I feel just like Link, like traveling around the world playing songs.
You mean Zelda?
Lols.
Get out.
But then you single-handedly
Guys,
brought my mood crashing down with me being blamed for Chan's death. Just A+ D&D there.
Yeah.
Just.
I gotta make sure everybody's still in the same mindset. That I'm slowly starting to work everybody into what happened last time, all 5 weeks ago. But see, it's a process. So I give Devin the anticipation that he has no friends by talking about ghosting on him. I give you the impression that you're not going to be able to save a life. You know, all kinds of things going on. Is that it? Are you just here to complain about me putting you in a state of melancholy?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Megan, hi, hello.
Hi, hello.
Welcome back. How have you been, Megan? How is life currently?
Well, I'm currently worried about the state of society after venturing into a Chipotle today.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. I liked that one.
What?
Also, no one appreciated my joke on that one except for perhaps Matt, because he replied with a meme. So, but I feel like my joke was pretty good on that. See, this happens to me every now and then where I feel like really on point and no one responds, and I'm just like, well, fuck.
Well, I'm glad I don't fucking count, Jordan.
Actually,
Whatever.
yeah, Matt, you are
Whatever.
currently my favorite player, so you're the only one that responded to both of my things today, so I appreciate that.
Listen, I was too distraught and had to get the hell out of there, okay? I couldn't handle it.
Indeed.
But, yeah, no, things are good. Nothing major to report. And this kitty gif better stay forever. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's really the only thing keeping this whole operation together at this point.
Yeah, so
So when that medical roll fails, that officially kills Chan, it's going to be a kitty.
I don't think anyone has actually seen it, but if you look here, this is the GIF behind all of the rolls now. And this will pop up on every single roll now.
Yeah.
And if you scroll up, you can see that when multiple rolls are rolled, there are two cats spinning around constantly. So there you go.
When multiple rolls are rolled, what are you talking about?
Like successively.
Right, yeah. When concurrent rolls are made. Is that better? Is that a better sentence for you, Matt?
Consecutive?
No, concurrent.
How is... okay. I like the cat. The cat's great. Let's move on.
Matt.
Jordan.
The only time I heard from you was when you were currently kicking my ass in Duck Game. So how the hell are you?
Yeah, and apparently right before this started, I took the gloves off because that was
super
brutal.
tryharding.
Dude, he wrecked us.
I actually
Straight up
wasn't.
wrecked us.
I think Meg was the X factor there. That's the only thing that changed, and somehow
I am fairly certain
Apparently, we're
that
not allowed to play together then.
I am
It's
fairly
just
certain.
the sibling rivalry that boils inside.
I'm fairly certain that last night I was also the X Factor because I believe Jackson probably would have had more kills had I not killed him and or you a couple of times.
Yeah. No, I'm fine. I'm good. Things are actually so. The short of it is I completely have my parachute basically in lab. Like, I could theoretically get a methods paper together with nothing more than I have currently. So anything from here on out until I set a date is just gravy, which is it's taken a while to get here and it feels pretty good.
Liberating,
So,
perhaps.
man, I still have to do. I am obligated to do a boatload of work still, just because I couldn't forgive myself if I didn't.
And on the outside, you don't want to be that guy that came up with the thing but then never expanded upon it to start with.
Oh no! I just mean I will still use this particular tool that I created to do. It's still going to be used, and I'm going to do plenty with it before I release it to the wild, so to speak, because generally it's, good form to add plasmids like this to a bank so other people can use them, and then they just cite your work, and that's just how it goes.
Right.
But I have plans for it that, between now and whenever I need to graduate, I have to, still plenty to do, but
Absolutely.
it's nice because even if nothing else works from here on out, I can still find a way to graduate, and that is kind of a weight off my shoulders.
Well, fantastic. That is
Yeah.
wonderful news.
That is all I have to mention.
Good. I personally have been dealing with some recent internet issues, which I hope are now resolved. Because I was playing Duck Game so late last night, when I woke up this morning, I was so tired that I forgot to shave before I went into work. So I walked in basically full weekend neck beard. But luckily it was Sunday, and all I did was watch Dota all day because there was nothing going on, which is great. It's a great feeling when that happens.
Well, yeah, spring break just ended, so no one's at the park.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And it's Grad Bash, Grad Venture, so, like, the parks are not even that busy during the day.
Wait, what was it?
Grad Bash and Grad Venture?
I don't know what that means.
So, for many schools in Florida, and also some out of the state, for seniors in high school and 8th graders in middle school, they usually do a grade trip, or like an end-of-the-year trip. Disney used to have something similar. What did they call it? Grad Night. Disney used to call it Grad Night, but they canceled theirs. So now, currently, Universal's the only one that hosts this event for all these schools, and they pay X amount of money to bring X amount of kids or whatever. And the kids basically get to come in, they get the full run of the park without anybody else, like any adults or anybody else being there besides the chaperones and the staff. And they get to come with, like 15, 20, 30 other schools at the same time. So it's a cool, just kind of basically a regulated party inside of the parks. And it spans both parks, so it's absolutely massive. It's one of our biggest events of the year. And that's Grad Bash. And Grad Venture is the same thing, but for 8th graders who are then progressing into high school.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Although, you said the end of the year? Are you guys already almost out down there?
So I think that schools generally end in June, or maybe a little bit earlier.
Well, you guys
end of May,
don't
beginning
have
of June.
semesters either, right?
Typically in Florida, there's 2 semesters. There's
Weird. I thought it was trimesters.
no, it's broken down into 4 quarters and 2 semesters. So there are, yeah, exactly that. 4 quarters, and then the semester runs from school start to winter break, and then from the first to end of school. Those are the 2 semesters that we have. But yeah, no, I think schools are typically definitely out by mid-June, almost always.
At latest, yeah.
Yeah, at the very
Usually
latest.
Usually
it's, I think, like towards the end of May, actually, that most schools get out, or start doing like half days and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So
I mean, we go till June 20th, but sure.
Oh.
I definitely think that's at least a couple of weeks later than most of our schools.
Wait,
For
how
sure.
long are your summer holidays over there?
Usually about 2 months.
About a month and a half to 2 months.
Yeah, a month and a half, 2 months, depends. Usually schools started back up towards the end of August, beginning of September.
Because you guys have, like, 3 semesters or whatever with small breaks in between each, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's just, like, constantly kind of year-round type deal.
Yeah, our summer breaks are 6 to 7 weeks, and then at the end of each trimester, we have a 2-week break.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's
I feel like I would have preferred that as a
actually.
kid. Yeah.
Same, yeah.
I feel like I would have
feel like
preferred that a lot as a
also
kid.
For teachers and educators, like, there's so much less
Yeah.
regression that occurs and loss of knowledge, so we're not freaking starting at square one every
Yeah,
time we
and
return
as
from
a
summer
learner,
break.
that definitely occurred with me many times. Come back for summer break, like, I forgot how to math.
I don't know literally anything. Great, perfect, lovely. Let's
And
freaking start over
I still
from
don't know how to math.
Fantastic. Anyway, so we're gonna keep our fingers crossed really hard that whatever this guy replaced keeps everything stable tonight. So keep praying to the internet deities.
Seems good so far.
There's only one
Jesus.
internet deity, okay?
And who's that?
Kanye West.
No.
God,
What?
I mentioned this in Siege, but I have a true like love for Kanye West on a very comedic level. I
can see
truly
that.
think he is an inspiration.
Well, what
to
other way is
many
there
people.
to...
We'll see. So like, here's the interesting thing about Kanye West. If we could tangent for a second, when Kanye West first got
For a
into the
second.
game, he was an amazing innovator of the entire genre of music. All of his old stuff, up until about Jesus Walks, is like so incredibly powerful, and nobody else was doing anything like him at that time. But then there is a thing that occurred, and I've never, in all of my research, because I've actually researched this, there is a thing that occurred in Kanye West's life that most people attribute to Kim Kardashian, but it actually started happening long before Kim Kardashian was in the picture.
Oh my god, why do you know this?
There is a particular event that occurred in Kanye West's life that, again, is attributed to a couple of different things that made him see the world through this lens that we know that he uses now. And it's actually in many circles that research into like the rap game and everything about it, there are many it's kind of like the Holy Grail is to figure out how Kanye West went crazy. Because he's the only one to ever truly like go off the deep end and then stay there. Like, there have been rappers that have gone off the deep end and then come back,
like,
or gone off the deep end and then died, or then gone off the deep end and like, you know,
yeah, like
never
in that
come
he
back.
Is still alive.
In
Or
that
what?
he is
still
still alive, still as popular as he is, and still
But
as
he's
absolutely
popular
insane.
for different reasons.
Yeah, it's not
But-
his work anymore.
But he's not really. His music still is actually the main reason why people go to his shows. Believe it or not.
Yeah, there's still people that think he puts out good music.
Right, and I
choose
don't
not,
agree with those.
But I respect that.
Right, yeah. You kind of have to respect people's opinions on music, because everybody's going to think certain music is bad or good, whatever. But yeah, Kanye's an anomaly in the pattern, and there are many rap scientists that have attempted to figure it out for many years.
Jordan, you had me
By
until you
all
said
accounts,
rap
it just doesn't make any
scientist.
sense.
Yeah.
It's a real thing, though. Look it up sometime.
Let's fly some spaceships.
Well, I was actually going to transition into speaking of scientists and needing to do things. Let's do a very, very quick recap.
But also,
I
how did
think-
during none of that, none of us say, no, Jordan, I'm gonna let you finish.
Oh, yeah, that really was a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
guys,
it really was. But I mean,
a better transition would have been, and now speaking of going off the rails,
Yeah, that's good. See?
good.
There
That's a
you
good
go.
one. I like that one. Point to Will. So I spent very minimal amount of time because Dota was on basically all day, but I did spend some time looking into and remembering what happened last time. So last time on Olympus.
Mhm.
Dun 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 dun.
Good. Yeah, we're right on track now.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you remembered.
We experienced well I'm actually going to go back 2 sessions in this recap, because it is important to note where we started and how we ended up here. So 2 sessions ago, which was a grand total of I believe 7 weeks ago, the group was arriving at a well-known planet. And let me just go ahead and pull that up here in the section guide. 507. A well-known planet named Dakani. And on Dakani, it is a planet of... I think it looks like the notes here are of varying degrees of morality, which is definitely a thing. Is definitely an acute representation of what actually goes on this planet. I would equate it to perhaps the Nar Shaddaa of this universe. For those of you that know Star Wars lore, it is run by a vast amount of different warlords that are varying in power, whether they control gangs or pirates or perhaps economic holdings, or perhaps they control specific areas of land, or perhaps they control like mining areas. Whatever they may control, they're all considered kind of a warlord system where there is generally a leader or a small group of people that lead a bunch of other people, and they're constantly kind of vying for power throughout the planet. And a lot of it doesn't really make it off system. There are some influences on the two other planets in this particular system, but not many. And it doesn't really make it out of the system. It kind of is all kind of contained here on Dakani. The interesting thing to note, it is the most populated gravitational well in the entire sector. In between the planet and the moons and the asteroids and the stations that all orbit on Dakani, there's probably close to 20 billion people / aliens, which is quite a high number as far as density is concerned. But because they're all kind of spread out, there's no, like, it's not a city planet like, it's not covered in cities and pollution and stuff like that. There is still some amount of land area that is undeveloped, because a lot of those people are all spread out to the varying moons and asteroids and stations, as I stated before. So you guys arrived here because of two reasons, really. One was you were completing some delivery jobs that you had picked up on Yuri Pylos, delivery of ice and medical supplies. And two, this was a well-known place for some kind of difficult, maybe, ship races, and a present that had been left to you by the estranged crew member Boomer, or I should say left to Gogo, was the deed, or the papers to a racing fighter that was actually able to fit inside the cargo hold, although it will take up space, obviously. And you can't, like, fly it out of the cargo hold because you don't have an actual docking bay. But it's possible to be transported around. So when you guys arrived here to complete those missions, you were waiting in orbit for your navigational charts to manage through the asteroids, so you didn't explode by one of the asteroids hitting you. It's kind of important that you don't do that. And as you were waiting there...
some would argue that's less important now.
Yes, some would argue that is less important now. As you were waiting there, you encountered some individuals who were perhaps...
I think it's probably better stated that some individuals encountered us.
Maybe. Who were professionals at their craft, let's say. And before the crew knew it, they had boarded and were in the midst of extracting the medical supplies that you guys were intending to deliver. With a hostage, I might add. Mm-hmm. The party decided that that was uncalled for and went in a guns a-blazing. And during the hard-fought shootout, in which there was multiple things occurring, there was some damage that was caused to the ship. There was some damage that was caused. There was quite a few bodies disposed of. You guys got the upper hand because they didn't seem to be expecting you guys to just jump in on them and start firing, because they were like, we have a hostage. Like, they're just going to let us take the stuff. What do they care about the stuff? Like, it's not even that expensive. But they weren't expecting that aggression, and so they were caught unawares and caught kind of off guard and not in a good defensive position, and you were able to mow down quite a few of them before quite a few more of them embarked upon their shuttles again and flew away with most of the supplies that were on board. Not all of it, but quite a bit of it. However, towards the end of that particular battle, when everything had kind of been calmed down and everybody was maybe doing the, like, whoa, hold on, a unfortunate missed shot by one of our crew members caused a blatant and perhaps irresponsible reaction from one of the Syriac that was on board, and he pulled the trigger, causing Chan to take some a boo-boo. And
you can just say that he got brained. We understand. We know.
I was trying to be delicate to Megan's sensibilities.
You got, yeah. We're past.
Yeah, we're past that. So.
And so in the aftermath of this, the two remaining individuals were promptly slaughtered, and the group, with some very quick thinking on the part of Dr. Fisher, you were able to stabilize Chan for how long does it last? 12 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 2 weeks.
Oh no. 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 See, and that actually leads us to the next problem. So that was one session. That all happened in one session. The next session was the inherent aftermath of this, in which there was a big, long discussion, basically that encompassed the entire session of what in the shit do we do about this. There were proponents of letting the dead lie.
There was proponent.
I mean...
Singular.
I actually... I don't know, Will, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Will, or Dr. Fisher, was at a point there where it's like, even if we do fix him, it's not gonna be, like, the same.
Yeah, but he wants to test out some of his toys now. He's warming up to it.
Sure.
I'm totally putting words in your mouth, Will, and waiting for you to respond.
At this point, it would only be for Dr. Phil's scientific endeavors rather than any moral.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Right.
And also the threat of claws. I think that was probably a big thing that kind of swayed the decision. Because when Goga was finally clued into the exact scope and scenario, she lost it a little bit in her already weakened emotional state. And there were a couple of very revealing moments where we learned a little bit about Dr. Fisher's home planet, Eurypylos. In fact, the planet that you had just come from delivering these supplies. And that revelation was that there was indeed a way that Chan could be saved, but it required something a little bit more perhaps beyond the normal scope of science, as the crew understands it, even Dr. Fisher himself. Because it involved the equivalent of, and we should just call them what they basically are, which is zombies.
Zombies.
Yeah. Dr. Fisher gave some information that there is a faction of individuals living on his home planet who fit all of the kind of character traits of a zombie. They eat flesh. In fact, I should say, a more apt term is probably ghoul. If you know what ghouls are from the Shadowrun universe, that is very apt to what these individuals are. They consume raw flesh as their sustenance. They crave it as a zombie or a ghoul would. One distinctive factor about these particular ghouls is that they retain their same level of intelligence that they had when they were turned. Which causes some interesting moral dilemmas for a lot of people, because with zombies, a la The Walking Dead, it's very easy to just say, these are not sentient beings, shoot them in the head. Right? But when that zombie can speak and act and argue for itself, the area becomes much more gray instead of black and white. And so it's a little bit scary, but also I think the big revelation as far as Oscar was concerned is that this was some mutation or some aspect that involves MES in some way. I think Oscar has I don't even know if it's an idea. Oscar has a thought process of what it is, but that may or may not be accurate or close to the fact or anything like that. That would be required to be seen. I know that Oscar at one point mentioned that, so they're like, feral psychics, which may or may not be true. That is kind of yet to be seen by the party. And even Dr. Fisher, who also revealed, I believe, that the whole reason he's traveling and interested in certain things is because he wants to figure out a way to cure this disease as he sees it. So there's a lot of thoughts on that, and between the party, the only two that really know that is the option that has been chosen is Dr. Fisher and Oscar. The full story was not revealed to either of the other crew members, probably for good reason on both ends. Fortune probably much more likely to shoot somebody or everybody in the head, and Gogo much more likely to perhaps come into even more emotional turmoil.
Well,
when she has to turn Chan into a man-eating zombie.
It will only make Oscar's ascension more difficult if everyone knows what they're up to.
Sure.
Well, Fortune needs a lot less than he might eat flesh to shoot someone in the head. So. Okay.
Well, that's good news for Chan then. But I would be remiss to say that there wasn't another option that was kind of given to the party, or two other options really that were kind of given to the party, which is one who Fortune was fighting for, which is, like I said, kind of like, is it worth all of our resources, time, money, etc. to really go this far, especially if, it may not work the way we want it to. But the other option was, and I'm going to throw this out there because maybe people's opinions have changed on it, from a non-metagame standpoint, obviously, in that the other planet in this system, by the name of, which one is it? Nicaea, is reported to have, by the doctor that you guys met, which I should pull up my notes here and get his name out, unless you guys wrote it down. You did not. Okay.
I did not.
His name is not Charles Manford. That is not his name.
Dr. Tan Man.
Oh, right, yeah. That is, he was a Tan. That is correct. Charles Manford is the old guy. I'm actually not sure I wrote it down either. Okay, well, whatever. But he was definitely Tan, and which was curious.
I can't recall. It was so long ago.
Yeah, I know. I'm not even worried about it. I'll go back sometime and look it up, but it doesn't matter now. He informed you that on Nicaea they have these methods for kind of almost miracle healing work to be done, but unfortunately not a whole lot is known about it, and not a whole lot is known about the planet either, because they are out of contact. Not that they are particularly under technologically advanced, but more so that they don't really share a whole lot about their culture or their lives, and nobody really bothers with them because they don't have really anything of value. People are, if they come to the system, they're much more attracted to either Dakani or Adrastus, which is the flea market planet, right? People are much more attracted to those and kind of just forget that Nicaea even exists, right? And they mind their own business at the same time. So there's not a whole lot of information there, so it was more of a wild card option. But it is an option because kind of the key factor of what you guys want to do right now is travel to Yuri Pylos, And in order to do that without Chan dying, you have to acquire, and I just did the math again, you have to acquire 720 units of the stim that is currently in the possession of Dr. Fisher.
At least 720.
Right, and that is 30 days supply. So that is, at maximum jumping speed, it's not that much leeway. If we look at it here, if you go at maximum speed, 1,
Fisher,
2, 3.
Fisher, what would the
5,
estimated cost of that total?
6.
Yeah,
so it's 6 jumps, which is already 18 days. Is that correct? Yeah. No. Yeah, 18 days.
No.
Mm-hmm. And that's at double jumping every time.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, no room for error.
Systems are only 50 each, but I mean they are tech level 4 items, so supply may not provide you with too many in bulk.
Yeah, I think 30 days was actually too much, right? So it's if we do...
So wait, we need 750 units?
Well, 720 units is a 30-day supply. It will take a minimum of 18 days to jump to Eurypylos.
So that's 36,000 credits.
If you want a 30-day supply, yes. If you pull off the minimum, right? So let's say you want 20 days, which is really pushing it. You're looking at what?
2,000 credits.
Right, is that correct? 2,000 credits? Sorry, I'm doing math. Math is hard.
Yeah,
What's the price of this stuff?
That's 40 units. Right, yeah. So 2,000 credits. Did I miscalculate? I think I miscalculated.
Yeah.
How much is it a pop?
I miscalculated. They're 50 apiece. So 2,000 credits worth is 20 days supply. Sorry, it's not 36,000. I miscalculated somewhere. I don't know where I miscalculated.
That idea is dead in the water before we even set out. If it's
yeah. No,
Mainly
for some
because
reason
I remember when we discussed this the first time. I remember thinking that it was technically attainable. If it was 36,000, I definitely would never have thought that.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I must have hit the multiple.
We gotta talk.
I must have hit the multiple. I must have hit the multiply button twice or something. I'm not really sure what happened there. See, even if you use a calculator on stream, guys, you still fuck it up. So 2,000 credits get you.
Don't do math on stream.
Right, correct. 2,000 credits gets you a 2-day leeway supply. Granted, this would be easier to find on Eurypylos, right? So if you make it to Eurypylos and you're going to run out of days, it would be easier to acquire it on Eurypylos. But again, this is banking on the fact that you double jump the entire way there, and Gogo does not fuck up a single roll. And remember, sometimes if you fuck up a roll, it doubles your transit time.
Sometimes you fuck up a roll, you die.
Also that.
I mean, the bigger problem, which we actually decided, was even to get that 40 units, we need to get 40 systems.
Right, which is this is not the ideal place to find that thing, especially since they are manufactured on Eurypylos, and you are one of the farthest systems away from that particular part of the sector.
Well, is this a conversation that we want to have in game?
I would say yes.
Is this?
I think that rehashing that conversation is probably a good idea.
I mean, my personal take is still that we should gamble on the planet closest to us. The uncontacted one, I think that rolling the dice on that one is still a better idea. But I am, I'm not the one spending money on this, and I'm not the one with the deeply invested.
I don't know. You and Chan do a lot of stuff together, though.
We do. I think. Well, Chan and Oscar have a bond. I think they were on the same wavelength.
Yeah, absolutely.
This would not be the first time that Oscar had to say goodbye. So
Yeah,
Let's do it in game.
Yeah.
Sure.
So maybe it's like we've had the initial like conversation, right? And Gogo probably hasn't recovered enough to like go to the cockpit. So maybe Gogo, maybe you're still in the med bay, and there's not a whole lot you can do in there right now, Dr. Fisher. So maybe everybody's kind of dispersed, especially since there was some tension, right? Like there was some butting of heads where Fortune was like, "Listen, I can make it clean. Like he doesn't even have to know," right? And that was obviously a very unacceptable answer. But then Fortune was also like, you know, we're going to waste a lot of resources that we just now finally got on this. Like, we can do without. Like, maybe it's better to say goodbye. Which was obviously
like,
also...
even if he does make it, he won't be Chan.
Right. What if
was
he,
my argument.
What if he makes it but is
Yeah.
then a vegetable, right? Like...
Yeah. Or worse.
Or worse. You know, ghoul.
Yeah. I don't know that yet, but or worse.
Right. Worse is always an option.
Yeah.
So maybe we see like the three other crew members ex Gogo. Maybe we see you guys in like the cafe, like brewing a very strong cup of coffee. Or maybe or probably more apt is probably like cleaning up the cargo bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where you guys might gravitate towards, is like taking account of the damages and, you know, throwing bodies out airlocks and stuff like that.
Oscar would be going over the bodies to try and find any identifying materials.
Sure.
He has he's gonna have some respects to pay at some point for this. So
sorry, the bodies are gone. I did that before we landed on planet.
well.
Did you guys actually landed on? Did you guys actually land on?
We did, and we picked up a doctor that came on board.
Oh right, I am so
that
sorry.
whole
I
thing.
forgot. Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Well, he would have done that
Sure.
at some point.
We can
but-
say you had done that. I can definitely give you some props
Sure.
on that. So maybe
So
it's not.
that's
Maybe
not
you're
where
just
we
taking
jumped at.
account of the damages. Then I forgot that the bodies weren't there either. But good call.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah,
we're taking account of damages now after everything's calmed down and Chan is at least stable for the next 11 hours and 30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, at this point we're still on the ground. We haven't taken off.
Correct. Yeah. Because
Alright,
also
so-
you suspect you might need some repairs too, right? So
Yes.
you know that the ship is damaged in some way. So who would start that conversation? Who starts the conversation of, you know... Because I know there was some talk before about the whole ideas, but... Dr. Fisher, would you start with, like,
I think.
what we need?
Yeah,
The shopping list?
So, we have 35 hours at maximum to engage our next plan, whatever that may be. If we do try to go to Europylos, we somehow need to acquire at least 40 systems, which is a challenge in of itself, but we could still try the gamble at the other planet in this system. I mean, failing that, then there's only really one option left.
The way I see it, there's two options. Yuri Pylos does not even sound like an option. There's an if we get the stuff, and if you make all the correct amount of vials, and then if we make it to Yuri Pylos. That's way too many ifs.
But that would at least give us the highest chance of quote,
Yeah,
unquote,
but you still have to, like, it's like a 75% chance of saving him if we make it past the first 50% chance of finding all the stuff, then the second 50% chance of making all the files, then the third 50% chance of making it through all these jumps. Then we have a 75% chance. So is it really a 75% chance of saving him?
But that could still be more chance than this unknown gamble at this other planet. We have 35 hours to do as we see fit. So,
Is there any way to check ahead to see if we could even acquire this medicine? Where did we intend to get this from anyhow?
Yeah, do we know which planet in the area would give us...
So this was a comment that came up last session, is that Adrastus is a...
Flea market?
Yeah, it's a central
Yeah.
trade hub for, like, this entire cluster. And remember, by entire cluster, I mean, like, all of the planets in this cluster, or all of the sectors, 0506, 0507, 0606, 0607, 0707, like, all of those planets get most of their goods, their manufactured goods, from level 4 society, so everything is reasonably linked into the sector net.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's exactly what Oscar would say, is like, we can evaluate our chances right now as we're discussing it. Somebody get on the line and see what they've even got.
Okay, at this point, I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
well, now that the most emotionally disturbed person is not here, because she probably shouldn't be making the decision anyways, what do you want to do as, like, not what should be done or could be done, but where do you want to go? What do you want to get done? I vote for he's dead, let him die.
I
For me-
think that Gogo has as equal a say in this as we do. Do you not, Fortune?
No, I think when someone is this emotionally distraught, any decision they make isn't a good decision.
For me, there is great scientific effort if we were to manage to make it to Pylos.
Is that positive or negative, Fisher?
I think he wants to go to Yuri Pylos.
I think it's a little bit of
speak-
both.
In the same tone.
Perhaps.
Speak clearly.
There is scientific effort if we go to Europos, and just leave it at that.
Okay.
Whether it's good or not is highly debatable.
Perspective.
Yeah.
I personally am willing to spend the time. Wouldn't claim to know what's best, though.
So, I guess the two of you are voting for Yuri Pylos then.
I'm voting not to jettison Chan. Beyond that, I wouldn't claim to know what's right here.
Well, I'm not asking for what's right, I'm asking for what you think we should do. And not by Gogo, but by what you think are... Where should we go from this? Like, what's best for Chan now?
Once we know if we can get the medicine, my vote is Yuri Pylos, if we can. If not, I think our only gamble is to go see what this other planet has on it. if we can't get the medicine and there's nothing there, then we did what we could. I will sleep easy, all aside, knowing that we at least tried.
All right. Well, then I guess we should try to find some medicine.
Yeah, and so Dr. Fisher, maybe you like are pulling that up on your nav comp or your data slab or whatever. And so how do you search for it? What do you like? Because obviously there's a search function. You know, Spoogle exists.
You know, I'm a bit more familiar with computers than just doing a simple Google search.
Okay.
So perhaps a bit more reaching out and like searching maybe some of the darker depths of the space net.
All right. I wasn't gonna make you roll for it, but I will now, since you want to search the darker depths of the darker webs. Not that it will affect your success or not, of course, but it will affect the information that you have. Go ahead and roll me a computers test, please.
With what would you like?
With intelligence.
Okay. I would like to re-roll just this fairly.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just noticed your comment in chat, Matt. Which is interesting because my internet is actually not dropping.
Yeah, and you haven't gone robotic
Twitch.
at all. So
Yeah, I think that is actually a Twitch thing. Because I just double checked. I've been running a tracer since the guy turned my internet back on, and I have had 0 loss over 4,361 4,361 packets. So I don't know.
Well, we're back. So
Yeah. Anyway, so moving right along. The 11 is a good roll. And you are initially with your first technically failed roll. You get a lot of spam. It seems like everybody anyway, it seems like everybody is selling this stuff. Everybody is selling the stim. Everybody is selling a lot of system. There's a lot of different like things that are occurring, and in addition to that, there is a lot of seemingly false information. And your 11 is actually going to allow you to enable to kind of break through that a little bit. And you're able to find out that there is indeed a surplus of the stuff on the planet. But it does seem that... it does seem like there is a... It appears in a much shadier part of the planet. So, with that being said, you understand that it is totally possible you may be able to acquire 40 units. But it's going to require you going to a couple of different vendors, and none of those look particularly reputable. So that's what your 11 is going to get you.
True.
I mean, does... Okay, well, wait. So what does Fisher relay? How does he present that information?
Well, we may be in luck. I found a few places that do indeed have a surplus amount, but they're not exactly your corner store friendly-faced bunch.
Is that implying we're likely to get burned? Or what? We've been shady places before.
Yeah, I think it's more a case of make sure you're armed should things go bad.
Yeah, I think that you also would know, Dr. Fisher, that there's a high potential for gouging as well. Because these people, the people that are selling legitimate stuff, know that their stuff is legitimate and a lot of the other people's isn't. And so they can kind of afford to control the market a little bit better on actual real stuff, is the deal here.
So, are you two up for willing to try this?
I mean, I'll ride along. I'm not sure how much help I'll be providing.
Sure,
I mean, I'll make sure no one dies, but other than that, I'm not going above and beyond here.
I think that's
Is this
as best as we can hope.
so long as we think this is a gamble that will pay off? If we're likely not to get anything out of this, then we may as well, you know...
Okay. So, I assume that kind of ends that conversation where, like, it is well known that something will happen. You know, you could at least give it a shot. So I want to swap back to inside of the inside the medical bay with Gogo. You're you know, what are you doing? Everybody's kind of left you there. What is your action while you're in there?
So I mean, Gogo hasn't left her spot since we last saw her. But at this point, I do think she has her compad out. And that strange, weird string of numbers and letters email account is up.
Uh-huh.
And I think you see it zoomed in, and it just says a single line of text that just says, Chan is in trouble. And she's like waiting to see if, you know, she's just like sitting there staring at the screen, not sending it yet. And then I think she takes it. She just takes it, deletes the whole thing, and then just writes, Chan is dying if you care at all, and then hits send.
Okay, yeah. And when you hit send, you see, like, the connection bar, you know, goes connecting. And you get two different alerts. One is connection failed, and then the other one is message sent. So it's a bit unclear as to whether or not whatever you sent away worked. It's like if you've ever used an Apple device.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think she figured that though.
Right. Yeah. So like maybe it worked. Maybe it didn't. Who knows? It's totally possible that that individual has set up their own private server, right? That sends that back to you on purpose, or to anyone that sends any messages to that server. Who knows? So, as you're kind of sitting there, we see kind of like a panoramic shot of the whole area. And we see, kind of slowly scuttling along the floor, we see Stanley, who's kind of like, you know, scuttling around a little bit, and he's like moving somewhat erratically and makes it to like the bottom of the table, and he's on the other side from Gogo, and like just kind of crawls up. And Gogo, you see Stanley kind of like poke his head above Chan, and like you can tell he's like with his little feelers, his tentacles are like kind of flailing about, like kind of inspecting him, like, you know, smelling and feeling and getting sensory data from Chan. Do you do anything?
Yeah, I think that she like kind of looks at him, and as if speaking to Chan, like she's been doing, I think she just says, "See, now even Stanley's worried about you."
Yeah, and I think that we see Stanley like kind of like come up and on the very like edge of the bed where Chan is not like occupying, we see Stanley like kind of curl up a little bit and just kind of like rest in that position, kind of like at his hip area. And I think that that's probably a great scene to kind of move on to the next, which I assume is the party flying towards Nicaea.
Well, or is it getting the ship fixed first? Or is
so that's a thing that you could do. Inspecting the ship. If actually, yeah, we should probably make some rolls on that to see if you guys can identify some damages. So whoever wants to can make me a tech astronautics roll based on intelligence, to see if we can identify the damages and figure out how much damage is there. Right? Yeah. I think that it's not necessarily like you know the general vicinity and you can locate the damage, but I'm gonna need a roll to figure out how much you think the damage is, so that, you know, it will apply later, I'm sure, when somebody tries to tell you how much the damage is.
Before we do that, I'd probably go find Gogo at some point. Be like, hey, we need to try to get the ship fixed before we can take off again. We need you to help us figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I think she looks at you and she says, "I'll take a quick look."
Okay. So you go down to the the cargo hold, kind of where the like the holes were drilled into the base of the ship, yeah, it's the first time you've probably been to this part of the ship since the incident, and so you see like there's still ichor and stuff and guts and probably, you know, bullet holes and all this other stuff that's kind of, you know, spattered throughout the cargo bay. It looks like a massacre happened here, probably because it did. And as you arrive, you like get down into the bulkheads, and then again, now anyone who wants to can roll to see if you can identify how much damage has been done to the ship.
Based on wisdom?
Intelligence. This is knowing exactly what you're looking at and figuring out how bad it is.
Well, that's appropriate.
Yeah. Damn! There it is. I don't think anyone else needs to roll. That fucking double 6.
Gogo comes around, looks around for like 3 minutes and goes, okay, these are all the problems, and then walks back out.
So,
I think it actually is pretty apt, mainly because I think she's trying so hard to just focus on the problems and not all of the rest of the stuff in the room.
Yeah.
Like she's like dialed into just like, okay, there's a gash there's a hole. Like, do you know what I mean?
You have something to latch onto, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
After all of this flailing that Gogo has been doing emotionally, there's something to like. There's a problem that needs fixing. I gotta fix it, and then you just like lock into it. Yeah. So you realize that. There's definitely a lot of damage to the electrical systems. It's strange, though. Have you ever seen? Well, I guess you have technically, because you've seen what Oscar can do to vehicles, right? You see very similar wounds too. In fact, very similar like explosion. What's the not flashpoint, but what's the center of an incident? There's a specific word for it. Damn.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I just can't think of it. You see two impact points basically. but it appears that these things have emanated from like inside of the ship and expanded outwards, almost like, you know, a ball of highly compressed force was expanding very quickly. Epicenter, thank you. Great. And as you're kind of crawling through, you see these two epicenters these 2 points, these epicenters that expanded outwards and had all of this damage done to the electrical systems. Looks like the lighting systems and maybe some of the ventilation systems in the cargo bay are a little jacked up. Nothing super bad or anything in particular like that. But as you're crawling through, Gogo, you also notice where there is another point, and because you know what you're looking for, because you rolled a 13, is the only reason I'm really giving it to you, there appears to be one more, much, much smaller epicenter that, instead of shredding and damaging all of the things around it, it appears to only have caused things to kind of bend slightly and move out of the way. It almost looks like, having dealt with explosives yourself and currently deal with explosives, it looks like damage that would be done by a dud. Almost. But obviously there's no like material here, right? Like there's no casings or explosives or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I detail it all on my compad and then crawl back out, as it were.
And I should mention... Go ahead. I was going to say...
I probably would just take it and hand it to whomever is still there. I don't know, Fortune or whomever, and just say, here's the problem. Find somebody to fix it. I can't do it. Yeah.
And for note of reference... I'm putting it in the... I had it saved down, but I'm putting it in Freddy McFrayface 2 now. It is the equivalent of 2 hit points of damage to the ship.
Okay.
Which is basically 2,000 credits to fix, base. Right? But the important thing to note here is the ship is flyable. The bulkheads can be sealed off so that the external holes in the ship don't affect the flight or maneuverability of the ship itself. Now,
just a bit of duct tape and it's...
Yeah, now if anybody else wants to board your ship, they won't have to drill through anymore. But yeah, the bulkheads can be sealed off. There's a smattering of insta-panels too, where you can weld them down. It's a very basic thing. Gogo could do it even without a roll. Could secure them in place so that you guys aren't flying with giant holes in your ship.
I have a couple of those on hand.
Correct. Yeah. This would be the time insta-panels are useful.
Man. Okay, so what is... nothing then is actually holding us up from action at this point, if we're flyable?
Except for you have 2 hit points of damage from the ship. That is the only applicable thing. It doesn't affect anything mechanically besides you're at 18 out of 20.
Yeah.
And you guys like to avoid space combat anyway, so that shouldn't be an issue. The solution to your guys' space combat is fly very fast.
Yeah. I mean, generally combat is to be avoided. However...
Right. Yeah. Some things are unavoidable.
Sometimes people really need to get killed. Okay, so... Are we what's happening?
That's
well, based on that, I guess then I would just fix it myself, just enough to make us, any little thing that I can, and then just go to Adrastus, right?
Yeah, Adrastus is the giant flea market. Which again, that's just how I equate it to having everything.
But also, nobody's told Gogo this, by the way, so
Correct.
I don't know what's happening.
Kind of,
so.
Yeah, I think once the damage report is done, probably say to Gogo. There is a chance we may be able to get the supplies at I've already forgotten the name of the planet.
Adrastus.
Adrastus. So we would like to go there first and see if we can indeed get them.
Good. Are we certain there's enough there?
There's the best chance that we will be able to get the sufficient supplies.
Good enough for me. All right, let's go.
Okay, so with the Instapanels slapped down and you wave goodbye to your doctor friends who don't do brain surgery on the ground, and lift off from Dakani. You receive your outbound navigational chart so you don't run into the asteroids, and you fly out. So it takes, and normally I wouldn't care, but I'm going to because we're actually on a time limit now. So because you guys have a Spike 2 drive, it takes half the amount of time to travel between units, right? So it's going to take you 3 hours to travel to Adrastus. Just notate that. I think you're keeping track of how many hours you have left on stims, Will. So go ahead and notate that. That's going to take you 3 hours to get over to Adrastus. Yeah, the Chan timer is currently at 32, I believe.
Chan timer's ticking, boys. We gotta get this show on the road.
The Chan timer. So, Adrastus is a particularly interesting planet. It has a thick atmosphere that requires a pressure mask if you go outside. But luckily, it's Tech 4, and it has enough. Words are escaping me today. Apparently, it has enough facilities to make sure that you don't ever have to go outside if you don't want to. There are, underground portions that are environmentally sealed, and you can kind of travel by train or by, grav car, grav train, whatever, to between places, and there's very few times, if ever, you have to go outside. It's not dissimilar, actually, to Paphos in that respect. It is a warm atmosphere, but in contrast to Paphos, which is a deserty planet, like an arid planet, this planet is actually much more kind of marshy and swampy. So it's not the heat that is like the dry beating sun. It is more the wet, muggy. It's the difference between like Arizona and Florida, if you want to put it that way. So that's why it feels like the atmosphere is thick and heavy, and there's lots of mist and fog that is kind of obscuring vision for many miles and a lot of times. And it's relatively darker planet too because of that. There's a lot of cloud cover, a lot of moisture in the air, so it blocks a lot of the actual sun getting down, but is keeping the planet warm. Probably the core is exceptionally hot is one of the reasons to have that extra heat. Lots of hot springs everywhere, though, and that's actually an attraction here, besides it being a trade hub, is that there are a lot of hot springs.
Oh, do we have time?
Yeah, I mean, check the Chan timer.
Hot springs.
Check the Chan timer.
32 hours. I mean, that's for a short stay.
And you'll notice here on the tags as well, also Megan is currently stabbing you with her eyes. You just can't see it.
I can feel it.
You had a face cam.
So you'll notice in the tags too, it says Perimeter Agency, and that was kind of the default tag that it came with, but what that actually denotes is this is the major exchange hub, which we don't talk about a whole lot because they're kind of like this omnipotent faction that exists outside of the factions, right? I know it's omnipotent, but that's how I say the word. Outside of all these other factions that can't really be touched, right? Because they control all of the money. If you want credits to be a thing where you exist, you don't mess with the exchange. And they are perfectly content to simply be that bank. They're perfectly content to stay on their hot springs planet and kind of just, live the dream, as it were, with their pressure masks on. So
yeah, that really doesn't sound like a raw deal.
No, it doesn't, right? Like, the exchange is totally happy to control everything with money, right? And, you know, why do we need any more power? We already control everything. Nobody's going to mess with us. Like, even if some other warlike faction takes over the entire sector, what are they going to do without the credit? Make their own system? They don't have people for that. That's what we do. So yeah, it's not necessarily a raw deal. So that's probably one of the reasons why this planet itself became such a major trade hub, right? Because everybody has direct access to their monetary things, right? Their money. So that's another thing to note about the planet, and that's what that perimeter agency tag means. It is tech level 4 baseline post tech. Much less populated, obviously, but you wouldn't be able to tell because probably over half of the people that are on planet do not actually live here, right? It's all freighters and traders and merchants and people like you, right? Like, this is the one planet that if you ever can't find a job, you can find one here. Guaranteed. 100% of the time. You can find somebody that will need something shipped somewhere because, you know.
So if we put out an application seeking a brain surgeon, what is the likelihood?
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
so
maybe we're going about this all wrong.
So you will probably get quite a few responses. Those people probably aren't actually brain surgeons. They're probably like, yeah, I can totally do that job.
So long as they get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the
I
point,
am
right?
not- yeah.
Is that they probably can't. You know, there's a lot of
We
con artists
won't
that
know
exist on
until
this
we
planet.
try, will we?
No, and they certainly will not do any better than Chan with a bullet in their head. So, you know. Let me